let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome back to Thicc Radio, the podcast where we talk about gaining, feedism, and everything in their orbit. I'm James.
And I'm Tim, so let's get it going.
Oh my goodness, Tim, what a fucking day this is. Listeners, you've already had the spoiler alert courtesy of the episode title, but today is our official 100th episode. Can you fucking believe it?
Yeah, because it feels like I've done more than that.
Well, I will say technically that is true. We're not counting any of the special episodes we've done. This is just our 100th airing on a Tuesday episode. But this 100 episodes in, girl, how do you feel?
Well, I keep saying, if we were a TV show, we would have been syndicated by now. And probably gotten a sponsor somewhere along the line.
Wonderful. So let's take a moment here to thank our sponsor, which we don't have one. So if you'd like to give us money, we have PayPal's in Linktree, so please reach out to us that way. And if you want to sponsor us, like as a business, I don't know, just drop us an email at thiccradio@gmail.com. But you're right, it is wild that we are here 100 episodes in. It feels like we only started this yesterday.
Yeah, it does. That's true.
And it was only a few short months ago, obviously, we launched Season 3, and obviously we kind of expressed then as well, like, just how wild it is that things grow and shift and change. I mean, as of today, we've actually capped 40,000 downloads, which is incredible.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, and 40,000 for my 40th birthday.
40,000 for Tim's 40,000th birthday, because she's fucking old. Never forget, because she has dementia, and she will. So I want to ask you, we're 100 episodes in, obviously it's a lot. What do you want to have achieved by our 200th episode?
So 200th would actually put us squarely in the middle of like season 5?
Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're currently on season 3. I just want to, more stuff to come, more projects when we have the opportunity to start them and make them into something. Mm-hmm. And all the conversations and round tables that we're going to have. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to more talk about this, because that's how you normalize it.
100%. I've got to agree. You know, it's interesting to reflect. Like, season 1, obviously, we were just kind of... We had ideas, and we had as many ideas as we have now, but it was all very formless. It was all very, who's up for talking? I mean, for goodness sake, there was a lot of having to reassure potential guests at the start that we would do our best to protect identities and all this. And, you know, now we're at a point where people are fully putting, like, government names out there. People are, like, revealing their cities and suburb locations because people want to meet up. So, like...
And I'm very happy to see that. It's not that I think that the entire community has to be pushed directly into the sun.
Oh,
but
no.
I do think that for those of us that are willing to be more public about it, that it helps. Mm. You know, visibility, how am I going to word this? Yeah, you can't hide in the light, but you also can't be protected in the shadows.
I very much would agree. I mean, for goodness sake, anyone who's listened to any of our reviews, especially of The Whale, you know what we're working with. You understand what's out there about us, and it's not great. And unfortunately, that's not going to change unless people put themselves forward. So God bless to every soul out there who's representing, whether it is explicitly or not. When you walk out of the door as a fat bitch, that's a political statement in our current climate. So God bless you. Keep on doing the work. But I certainly think by our 200th episode, you know, I would love it if roundtable episodes almost became more of a norm.
Yeah.
You know, I think there are so many episodes that we've done already where people are coming back to us with, you know, how we could reposition it as a group episode, because there's so many different perspectives, so many different thoughts.
Yeah.
So there's so much we want to do by our 200th, but halfway there. Let's see what we can get done in the next 2 seasons. Now, obviously we're titling our Diamond Age of Gaining. This references something we talked about actually way back in season 1 with Allison.
Yes. Back
on the show. Shout out to Allison. When we talked about the future of gaining. Mm-hmm. And this kind of refers to, you know, what we're kind of seeing already if you kind of mirror world history, because it does reflect our cultural timeline,
Well,
so
yes,
to say.
yes.
You know, like you could term our pre-internet period as our kind of, you know, dark age, and as like events and magazines and all that starts up, that's our Reformation. And then when, you know, historically when the church splits and a new movement forms, which is, you know, kind of like how gaming divided, I suppose, from the feederism community, as it was called, at a certain point, you know.
So by this timeline, does that make the arrival of the gaming community on the internet the Renaissance?
Well, I would say so, because when you think of like Warren Davis, he would be
like our Botticelli.
He would be our Michelangelo David. And then, you know, I think our Renaissance period is kind of now, which is where we've got this contemporary art, and we've got just what we're really seeing now with people really trying to put out better literature and better art and better everything, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that's where we are now. But what do you think comes next? Because I would classify it as, well, I suppose timeline-wise it would be like the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, the Industrial Revolution would come next.
But, you know...
Which one could argue has already happened since it's moved to the internet.
Yeah. I don't know that we need an Industrial Revolution, because I don't think there is a way to industrialize... Well, actually, I suppose you could argue AI art.
Yeah.
And AI
that
fiction.
Would probably be like the equivalent to what Steam work.
I guess. But then I would also give a different understanding of where we're at. I want to call it our Diamond Age, because I think this is such a strong place that we're at. And I think we can learn from history. I don't think we need to follow the strict rules of having to go through this highly capitalist phase. I think we can skip that altogether and say, bugger it, we're going to choose to focus on the glory of human connection and events and people making friendship and building legitimate community that edifies the gaming experience, you know?
I think the Gen Z kids have that well underway so far.
Yeah. I mean, your Gen Zers, those of you all listening, you're a huge inspiration to us elders, because, you know, for many of us growing up, we were just kind of laughed at by people.
Oh, we were told to sit down and shut up, and that we were spoiled, that we were entitled, that we were all these, you know, like, oh, you don't know how easy you have it. You know, how many times you hear that growing up if you were born in the 80s or 90s?
A girl living in Perth, Australia, people going, well, you should be lucky you're not fucking dead right now, so just shut up and deal with what you've got. And it's like, oh, I guess I'll just have shit on a plate and say, thank you, master, another log, please, because that's all we fucking get. Whereas you kids said, no, we're not going to have that. We're going to have what we want, and you'll be damned, and give it to us anyways. So, God bless you.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we tried, but then Columbine happened, and, you know.
Well, it's just been wild since then, so. But I do think that places us in this diamond age where people are really working at it. And again, you Gen Zs out there, you Zoomers, are really giving it to us, so thank you for that. I want to ask you, Tim, what do you want to see happen in, like, the next 10 years of the community?
I guess I'd like to see more events crop up than just your standard, like, Grommr of the Seas, the Grommr, and Belly Rub Weekend. I mean, they're all great things to go to, but I'd like to see more local things pop up so that people actually have an opportunity to go and meet with other members of the community. And I actually want things like Grommr of the Seas and the Grommr and Belly Rub Weekend to grow large enough to rent an entire boat out completely, or rent an entire hotel out completely, or whatever space just completely take over, because it's so much different when you know that every single person you're around has that one thing in common with you. You know, that's like what made going to leather events so much fun, because everybody who was at that convention center was a part of the same community.
No, I 100% agree. I want more accessibility, and for people of all sorts of different ages as well. I want people who are like 18 and don't have fully fledged careers to be able to come and experience gaming. It's a conversation we've had before and time again, and we'll have again in the future. So much of gaming is gatekept by the fact that if you can't afford it, you can't really do it.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be incredible if we could create events and spaces where, you know, so long as you can pay the cover charge,
yeah,
it's fine for you to go. There is no expectation or demand. There is only sociability and fun to be had, you know? That's what I'd like to see. What about beyond that? Can you even, like, logify what the gaming experience will look like 15, 20 years from now?
I don't know, because I can't really imagine what the world's going to look like in 15 or 20 years, especially in the United States. We just don't know what's going to happen day to day. So it's getting a little bit difficult to predict the future. I just, like I said, hope that people take more chances. I hope that people will just be in general kinder to one another. I mean, I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. More visibility equals better protection, honestly. It's better that people know that we exist than don't know that we exist.
When we own our story, we get to write our narrative. When you choose to take a back seat, you do not have the opportunity to inform or influence. You know, I mean, even to this day, there are such regular conversations about people who are feeders, people who are feedees, conversations around non-consent, which are not appropriate, conversations around rape or any other form of sexual aggression, which is not okay. And no one's out here to tell people otherwise, except us. So join us on the front lines, kids. Let's make gaining great again. I don't know.
No. Don't use that slogan.
Magag.
No.
Magag. No. Magag. Make gaining great again. No, well, actually, no. Make gaining great again would be just mugga.
Mugga, yeah.
Yeah, no. Still crap. Screw that. Let's go with eat large, fats. Elf.
We'll
Elf.
we'll workshop that. We'll workshop that one.
If you have any suggestions for a future militaristic slogan for gainers, please submit them to thiccradio@gmail.com. We'll put you on the dossier. Oh, goodness. But listen, we're going to take a slight aside here because this is still a bit of a special event. I'm currently recording this sitting in Tim's parents' holiday house in Jacksonville, Florida, because I've been here for some time with some special guests having a lovely holiday, and it has been really lovely, honestly. I've had a great time.
I've had a wonderful time too.
Good.
So I would ask what's your favorite part of the trip so far, but I'm sure you're going to say, it's being in your company. But aside from just being in my company, what has your favorite part of the trip been thus far? And we are only halfway through it.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to have to say the food because... And look, I'll be honest, I was very nervous because obviously as much as non-Americans, especially non-American gainers, live by the glory stories of Boost and junk food and
which
calories.
you've recently tasted Boost for the first time.
Which I have, and I've got some thoughts. But...
it's not pleasant.
It wasn't my favorite. But I will say that I've been pleasantly surprised by the junk food here. For lunches, most days we've gone out to a couple of different places. Mm-hmm. You know, Arby's, Sonic, Jollibee's, Outback Steakhouse, Publix. We've been to Whataburger, Wawa. So, you know, there's been a good smattering of different bits and pieces, and very few items have scored below a 7.
But and I think I introduced you to your own personal version of crack.
Oh my god, butter cake.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that was fucking good. And can't forget Steak and Shake, of course.
Steak and Shake, yes.
That. We had a McDonald's breakfast here, which was very interesting but different. Still yet to try the Grommr shake. I want to try the purple cum. I want to see what that's all about.
It just does not look appetizing at all.
It doesn't, but I want it. I want it badly.
There's nothing about that color or that texture that looks welcoming.
No, that purple is not found in nature, and I think it's for a good reason. But, as I say, I've really enjoyed the food here. The snacks have been surprisingly good. The food has been surprisingly good. You know, and that makes me really happy because before I came, and this is up on my Instagram, I did try a couple of key things, some Whoppers, some Dots, some Boost, some Twinkies. Yeah,
I mean, you were trying this sort of stock standard American snack. Like, you weren't really getting a good amuse-bouche of what we're capable of over here.
So, you know, that had me a little worried before I came out. But as I say, I've been pleasantly surprised by the food. It's been delicious. And, of course, Tim's company has been just wonderful. Can never get enough of that.
We also went down to Orlando for a couple of days because I really wanted to go to Epcot. And it was your first time being in... You've been to a Disney property, but you have not been to Disney World. Mm-hmm. So this was your first time at Epcot. It's a park that I adore because it's eating and drinking and shopping your way around the whole world. So what was your favorite part of being at Epcot?
I just think it was the experience, really. I think because I've been to Disneyland Paris, and I went with my partner, and it was pissing down with rain, and so we wore smocks the entire time. But, it was not a bad experience. It still sold the fantasy, which I thought was quite incredible to do. And, I expected no less from Disney World, but my goodness, everyone was all smiles. It was the absolute stereotype about the happiest place on earth. I mean, even so far as, we pulled up in Tim's driving, and the woman who's... the woman who's working
the bitch clocked me the minute she saw me.
Tim pulls up and she goes, "Oh, hi there, welcome to Disney, are you having a wonderful time?" And Tim's like, "Yes, I'm having a good day." And she's like, "Are you sure?" And we're all sitting in the back trying not to cack ourselves laughing. It was the funniest thing, because you could just hear it in Tim's voice, like, "No, I'm good, I'm gonna have a great time.
I'm in the happiest fucking place on earth, lady. What do you want?"
Coming across like the most depressed dad who spent his life savings to take his 3 snot-nosed children
which is
to
exactly
Disney.
what some parents have to do, lug their 5 children in that god-awful heat for $1,000.
Oh my god. But I will say it was amazing. The experience was great. Everyone had great attitudes. And
a particular moment that I found funny was right after that downpour that caught you and Tom. We all went to that gift shop that was attached to the ride that we went on, and everybody was buying a poncho except me, because I bought an umbrella. And you come walking out after you've purchased yours, like, "You didn't get a poncho?" And I opened my umbrella, and I'm like, do I look like I would wear a poncho?
Tim just reading me to filth.
I am not a poncho wearer.
Fair enough. But, it's funny, because after that point, there was practically no rain at all.
And in fact, it got so humid that
I got...
you were sort of dying of, mild sunstroke.
I was surviving to an extent, and then the day ended, and then I got home, and I was about this close to throwing up due to heat exposure. So, it ended up being a very, very long day for me. But even so, I still had a wonderful time. Disney World Epcot was fantastic, and honestly, I already can't wait to go back. Although we will hopefully pick some more wintry months.
Yeah, my dumb ass, because this is the time of year that me and my family would always go on vacation, because my mom had a job in sales for textbooks. So her only time off was from mid-July to mid-August. And that's always the hottest months when you travel to the South. So every time we went to a theme park, went on a cruise, went to any part of the South, it was always during those extremely hot months. I'm used to it, and I forget that your pale ginger visage cannot be exposed to that much sunlight.
There are very few things in this world that, as a white person, I would say people need to be racially aware of with us, but this is one of them. I am racially disadvantaged by sunlight, and this should be considered at all times.
I tried to find shady spots everywhere that we went, and we definitely, every time we felt the chilly tendrils of the air conditioning.
Oh, I made a beeline for it. I think I let us into the shopping district.
I think you did, yeah.
Instances. Oh gosh, especially towards the end. Bless us. I think because we were so hot, there was that little bit of dithering going on. Like, oh, do we go here? Do we go here? And I just walked off.
I think we just zipped through Canada really fast.
Yeah, I went straight into the shopping section and went, right, yep, we're walking through, and I've sucked in enough cool air that the sizzling of my flesh has ceased for a brief moment, and now I will throw myself back into the frying pan.
But of what I ate and drank around the world, I had...
Now, you ate and drank a lot.
Snacks in Mexico, plus a margarita, plus the churro ice cream. Then I had something in China, but I don't remember what it was now.
You had sushi.
No, wait, that was Japan.
That was Japan.
Sushi in Japan.
Well,
I had a dry-ass pretzel in Germany. That was the driest pretzel.
Oh, yeah. That was fun.
Yeah, no, that was not good. What else did I have? In terms of the alcohol, it was beer, sake, which I get sake every time I go there. I don't even like sake. I actually really hate sake.
Why do you buy
it? But I buy it because I have to have the experience of drinking gasoline with my fish rolls.
Have you never had Asahi, a Japanese beer? They are delicious.
No, because I've also had plum wine, and I really don't like plum wine.
No, I think you've got to get into the beers because they're still wheat based. You know, they're
I thought
delicious.
they were all rice-based, rice and barley.
Well, I don't know about that, but Asahi's delicious. It just tastes like a regular beer. So, there you go. If you get the chance to try Asahi, listeners, I would recommend it. It's a
I didn't get to
delicious
do any
beer.
French pastry. That was the one thing I forgot to do, was get some good French pastry.
No. Oh, and we did also get a couple of beers at the English pub.
The pub. We got beer.
Yeah. So there was certainly a lot of eating, drinking to be had. We spent our dosh really well around the world.
That night was the night we had Steak and Shake.
That's right. We came back and we had Steak and Shake after I had a necessary shower and nap and recovery.
You should have done what I did. I stripped down to my underwear and I jumped straight in the pool.
No, you see, I went straight in for a cold shower. I actually got a bottle of ice water from the fridge and poured it over the back of my neck and cried.
Oh, God.
I was like,
Because half the pool was in shadow by that point. You would have been okay.
Ah, well. No regrets. I ended up I did that. I had a freezing cold shower. I laid on the bed stark naked and passed the fuck out. It's wonderful. But, you want to know something? There's a reason I'm here in America. There is a reason I went down to Epcot. And, you know, we talked about this a couple of times, but if you didn't know before, you know now. This is Tim's 40th birthday, everyone. Happy birthday, Tim.
Thank you.
I mean, my goodness, 40 years.
40 years old, yeah.
And what a long 40 years it's been.
No, you know what? I noticed that I'm beginning to think more like a 40-year-old. I'm beginning to think like my age.
And what does that mean, Timothy?
It just means, like, I look at certain things, I'm like, God, that looks uncomfortable. Or I look at certain things, I'm like, I don't feel like walking. It's really hot outside. Or, I even caught myself thinking something about a teenager that I saw over at Epcot, like, boy, he's got it easy, doesn't he? And I was like, damn it. Oh, and you know what else happened? We were sitting here playing cards, I think this the third or fourth night. And I was a little drunk and I was a little stoned. And we're sitting here playing cards and I'm just sitting here like shuffling through my cards, humming to myself. And I'm like, oh my God, I've become my grandmother.
Yeah. So Tim's old, everybody, if you didn't get that.
It's the first time. I don't feel old, but I think old.
And he is old, which is why I make age jokes all the time. It's also because Tim is aging like a Benjamin Button type, where there are no frown lines.
I'm going to be like Angela Bassett. You seen her lately?
A bitch is in her 70s, isn't she?
Yeah, oh, well, she's not quite there yet, but she's in her 60s.
But she looks literally your age. It's wild. Meanwhile, as a white pasty ginger, I am aging like sour milk. So I have to insult Tim's agelessness to make myself feel better. But you know what? Because it's Tim's 40th birthday, I thought it would be fun if we got a couple of people to submit some questions and we actually have them lined up ready to go.
Oh, shit. Okay. I was afraid of this.
Why were you afraid, Tim?
Because everybody knows I'll answer.
This is from Thick Boy Gaines.
I guess I do have one question. If you could have any person or any persons to spend a weekend with, who would it be? And what would you do?
Oh, God. Okay. Normally we do not ever name drop, but I'm going to have to. So, I mean, you, Thick Boy Gaines, Little Birdo, some extra Grommr pile,
Tubby B,
Tubby
20S.
There's just so many freaking, because basically what I would want is just all of us being able to do exactly what I said, like rent it, like enough of us to have a boutique hotel rented out completely. Yes. It's just us, or a small charter boat or something like that. Just something where it is just like me, all my good Judies, the people I care about the most, the people I love the most, hanging out, enjoying leisurely time, leisurely activity, eating, growing, all that wonderful stuff. So it would be a very long list.
That's fabulous. And if anyone listening has access to any of these facilities to make it happen, please reach out at thiccradio@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Now, the next question comes from Shem Fowler.
My question for you is, what is something that you hope to achieve by the time you're 50? I'm curious to know.
Oh, God, by the time I'm 50. I'd like to be remarried by then. I would also like to own either a slightly larger house or a condo, townhome type of situation. I'd love to be able to also afford a rental property, to rent that out, to make more, extra money. I'd love to have started and be well on the way with Thicc Limited.
Whatever we're going to call it.
Whatever we're going to call it, be well established by then. And not that I expect to, live a leisurely life after that, but, I want work to be something that I actually enjoy doing, not something that I do just because I have to survive.
No, I completely agree with that. And to speak a little bit to that experience for a moment, for me, everything we ever talk about is the passion we have for not only the gaming community, but just for the rights of the plus-size community at large, because ultimately a lot of the things that negatively impact us negatively impact a lot of other people. And, I think Tim and I certainly have a lot of the verve and effervescence to get that shit done, or at least join in with the efforts as they are. So I'd like to see some movement happening there for the pair of us, and I agree. In terms of you getting remarried, are you underway with that? Are you seeing anyone at the moment?
Well, obviously to Matt.
I know, I'm asking the obvious question.
But I know it hasn't. It's because he's in school full time, and I've got things that when things are cleared a little bit easier for both of us, then yes, it's definitely going to happen.
Yeah. And I just think in terms of,
but the caveat that I put in there is basically I want to make sure, because after watching what my mother went through with my sister's weddings, both of them. I just want to give her a date to show up. I don't want her involved in the planning, not because I don't love her, but just because I don't want to see her like that again.
Right. So what you're saying is you're going to get the other type A personality in your life to help try to coordinate.
I don't know if I want you to coordinate.
What you trying to say? You don't think I can throw you a good old shit?
No. The problem is that I'm afraid that everybody who's involved will be on the verge of a nervous breakdown by the time it happens.
Why? You think I'm going to come out here all crazy just whip cracking
No. But I do think that you, as a leader, probably intimidate the people underneath you.
Well, if that helps to get things done, who am I to betray the expectations that Timothy has of me? What can... But no, I think that next 10 years for you sounds like such a wonderful time. And I think those things not only sound really achievable, but I think the journey to achieve them is going to be really quite wonderful. So, I'm looking forward to that. Your next question comes from @MarshallLaw.
Tim, got a very important question for you. James is always going on about how old you are. And I personally don't believe it. I don't think you're that old. But what was it like to know George Washington?
Well, he wasn't much fun.
Was he not?
No, not really. He was kind of boring. Martha was a kick, though.
Martha was a kick. Well, Hamilton lied to me. They should have made it about Martha.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, he was a bit stuffy.
Okay.
And his teeth were made of wood, so that kind of freaked me out.
Ugh. Legitimate, they did that, right? It's a dentistry thing.
Yeah, it really is. The dentures used to be made out of wood.
Fuck, you get fucking splinters in your gut.
No, they shaved it. They smoothed it down. It's not like they just stuck roughly hewn
logs
into your mouth. No, they knew how to shape them into the approximation of teeth.
I don't know, girl. I've been in this country a few minutes now. I've seen some shit. I've seen the look on some people's faces. It looks like, they...
Well, that's because dentistry is very, very expensive over here.
Well, that's perfectly fair. Our next question comes from LittleBerto17.
So one more question. So I personally want to know, what is your biggest accomplishment in your life?
The biggest accomplishment in my entire life? Oh, that's tricky. Because I don't know, you and I have had many conversations about some of the insecurities I faced over the years about not necessarily feeling like I'm good enough because I didn't reach certain milestones that society had set for me by certain ages, because yes, I had a home by 25, but I was struggling to maintain that home. I was making just barely over minimum wage at that point, so I had to make decisions like, oh, do I get to eat this week or not? So I have accomplished that. Everything I have right now, I paid for on my own with my own hard work, even though I hated most of it. And graduating as a nurse was a big accomplishment, probably the biggest thing I had done up to that point. And an accomplishment that I think actually dwarfs that and I'm more proud of is the podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I've said before, I don't know if children are in the future for me or not. So I don't know who to pass on whatever wisdom I have gleaned And it comforts me to know that there are people out there that genuinely take it as something worth something because, well, you know, like I said, I'm not. It's not that I'm full of aphorisms, and I'm not Confucius or anything, but I do have stories, and if those stupid stories help people, then I'm glad that they were able to get something out of it.
That's true. You may not be Confucius, but you are Buddha, especially with that belly and tits. So keep on talking, Tabo. Give us the wisdom. Our next question comes from the Captain Bara.
Hi there, Tim. I have a birthday question for you. I know you've gotten into the world of Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra recently, and I was wondering if you might want to play a bit of Fuck, Marry, Kill with the following 3 characters: Iroh, the Boulder, and Bolin. Let us know.
Which one was the boulder again?
So in the episode in which we're introduced to Toph, she's doing the wrestling ring,
Yes.
and there's a man who talks about himself in the third person.
Oh, that guy. I don't
Boulder.
remember what he looked like.
Hang on. We'll pause this in the podcast.
Because I can tell you right now, fuck Bolin. I would absolutely fuck Bolin. Especially if he were, like, off-season. Like, if he hadn't been working out for a while.
So, the boulder, this is what the boulder looks like.
Oh, okay. Well, that is a tree I would like to climb. But I've already said fuck Bolin,
No,
so it's either marry or kill. No, I know I definitely want to fuck Bolin. So, but it's marry or kill with the... You know, I'd have to marry Iroh because I couldn't kill him. So I guess I'd have to kill the boulder, which is a damn shame.
You know, I would say mine would actually be exactly the same. Of them, the boulder I care about the least, so
Yeah.
kill. Iroh, yes, such a sweet man. And I've obviously said before, like, I would aim to be like Uncle Iroh in my life, so I love that. And Bolin, yeah, absolutely.
You know what's interesting is, like, when I think about Uncle Iroh, it makes me think of Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid films. That was kind of our version of Uncle Iroh. We had Mr. Miyagi.
Next question comes from @TubbyAB.
So, my question for you is if you were an old Hollywood actor or actress for a day, who would you be?
Oh, that's such a good question. Honestly, I think I'd be Cary Grant because I don't know what it would be like to be that good looking. Like, like, I don't think that I'm ugly by any means, but I don't look like Cary Grant. Like, nobody looked like him, and nobody looked better in a tuxedo. And you see, if I were Cary Grant, I would have been just fully out of the closet. I don't care if it would have ruined my career because I would have just had my pick of all of those in the closet gay men in Hollywood who were trying to break into pictures.
Everybody who wanted a piece would.
I would have had Rock Hudson. I would have had Roddy McDowell.
Oh my God, James Dean.
I don't know. No one can really confirm whether or not he really was. You know, but I think he probably was too. At least bisexual.
Agreed. I'm surprised you didn't say Tallulah Bankhead.
See, that would be a close second because to be her would be, and for those of you who are listening, you probably don't know who Tallulah Bankhead is if you're under the age of 50.
Sure, because they knew who Cary Grant was.
Like, well, Cary Grant, maybe more people know who he is, but Tallulah was a Broadway actress primarily. She didn't really make it in Hollywood, but she was fantastic. She was referred to as the Alabama foghorn because she had this really deep husky voice and she always called everybody darling. Yeah, that would be a close second.
Oh, love that. Our next question comes from Tubby20S.
Hey Tim, I just wanted to ask the question, how does it feel to be at the bottom of the hill?
At the bottom of the hill? I'm at the bottom of the hill?
Oh my goodness.
What does that refer? Instead of over the hill, I'm all the way on the other side of the hill?
Well, you know, it's
or
like
the bottom of it?
the bottom of the, like you had a tumble. Tina had a tumble.
During what? My Sisyphean task of pushing a boulder up
the boulder that he killed.
Pushing the boulder that I killed up the hill.
Up the hill. And now she's at the bottom laying there 40 wrecks.
It doesn't, like I said, it does not feel any different than it doesn't feel any different than when I turned 30. So.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
We also have a question from your boyfriend.
You managed to talk him into this?
Yes, I did.
Someone who's outside of the community, how would you introduce them to it if it's a partner who's not a member but is interested with basic learning acts?
Oh, with basic learning, yeah. Well, that's what most of us can hope for, is a partner that's going to at least be curious a little bit and wants to learn a little bit about it.
Yeah. So where do you start?
I hesitate to say it, but Grommr does have a great timeline to just sort of give a general history of where we started and where we are now.
Oh, yes.
In terms of introducing him to the community, it would be more like Instagram stuff, because there's just a better community vibe on Instagram.
Right.
And just basically, I guess, point out different profiles that I follow, different people that I've talked to, stuff like that, and try to. And if you have any if they have any questions, just try to answer them to the best of your ability. You know, I know some stuff can be kind of difficult to explain out loud for the first time, but you know.
Well, that's where this podcast, not to blow us up here, but you know, like this is where we actually do come in very, very handy, because if you don't know how to answer questions on certain subjects, link them to our episodes. Seriously.
That's true.
Put them in touch with us directly. We've actually offered this to a few people we know who are dating civilians who have voiced, you know, concern or confusion or uncertainty. And sorry, quick aside here. I put a little message at the end of these messages for Tim.
That's all fabulous.
But listen, I think anything you can do to reassure them, and we talked on this briefly at the start, you know, when we are out in the open and we accept who we are, we get the chance to shape our story. And when we don't, we really don't get that opportunity. So when you have a partner who is curious and wants to know, when we walk into that conversation with trepidation or uncertainty, we basically come across like we're lying to their faces.
Or it comes off as defensive. It kind of sets the whole thing up for failure.
Whereas if you understand that who and what you are as a gainer and a feeder is valid and fine, your partner's not going to question that. You walk into the space and go, yeah, I'm into feeding, I'm into popping buttons, I'm into farting, I'm into squashing, I'm into blueberry. And they might go, oh, I've not heard of that, that's not for me. You can then say, that's fine, it's not for you. Maybe we need to have a discussion about being in an open or polyamorous relationship where I can get my jollies elsewhere.
Let's say if you're in a beginning of a relationship and you... I always say if you're starting a new relationship, it is best to try to get this stuff out of the way first, honestly. 100%. Because it does help to weed out somebody who might not be potentially for you. Because you might get along with someone really great. You might think that they're really hot, but then when they find out that you're into this, they could react with disgust or anger. So it's usually better to be upfront, because otherwise you run the risk of like years down the road, them finding out you've kept this secret the whole time, and it just turns into a big mess.
Yeah, I do truly believe like the main reason why people view gaining and feedism with such uncertainty and trepidation is because that's how we ourselves treat it.
Yeah.
So if we start treating it with a little bit more respect, I think others will treat us with more respect too. And I do think that that is really where the conversation needs to start. It needs to start not with them, but actually with you, and with you owning it for yourself. But that was all the questions that our listeners had for you for today, Tim. Oh. But I do have a question for you, as a last one, both for you and for this special episode. Mm-hmm. I want to ask you genuinely, right here, right now, on the record, am I your favourite best friend in the entire universe?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, I am! Oh, yay! Oh, huzzah!
Oh, there's no pettiness in that whatsoever.
None whatsoever. None. It's a genuine question. No, of course. No, I did genuinely have a question for you, which is, what to you has been the most incredible experience of the last 40 years? Not necessarily your proudest achievement, not necessarily the weirdest or wackiest thing you've ever done, but I'm asking, what has been the most brilliant experience? The thing that stands out among the rest of the last 40 years, what is it?
Oh, God, I don't know if I can single it down to one event.
Well, give us a smattering of the ones that come to mind.
You know, when I was a kid, some of the most magical times I had was visiting my dad, because he worked for Hallmark greeting cards, and it was an extremely artistic building. Like, there was art everywhere, statues, paintings, life drawings, photography. The architecture was really interesting, and getting to see my dad work and getting taken to other departments with him and watching them make sometimes even film and television, participating in photo shoots. Like I was almost on a greeting card. From my teenage years, I try to forget them, but I guess maybe my first boyfriend, the first time I got kissed by a boy, was definitely something. In my 20s, moving out on my own, trying to be independent, that didn't really work out. But then I met Jamie when I was 21, and like it or not, that was a very significant moment in my life because it lasted for 12 years. And my 30s kind of became about making up for my 20s, because I didn't really act like I was in my 20s when I was in my 20s. I mean, I did some stuff that I'm not exactly proud of, but I didn't really live my life for me. I was really making decisions based on other people. So my 30s were all about that. My 40s, I guess, are going to be about giving back as much as I possibly can, because there's a lot of things that I've done, a lot of things I haven't done, but there's a lot of things that I don't feel I need to do anymore either. Mm-hmm. You know, like I don't need to go out clubbing to throw my status around and be like, hey, I'm here, pay attention to me kind of thing. Like I don't need to do that anymore. I don't need to prove myself to anyone in my own community any longer. Yeah. But I do want to try and help people who are younger than me, just because like I see what it's like for them. You know, like they're just as confused as I was, and no one's helping them out. Nobody helped me out. So, you know, I kind of feel like I owe it.
Well, I think that's a wonderful place to end the conversation. Tim, this has been, I think, a very special day for me and for you. I think this has been a wonderful opportunity to get to shower you with a little bit of love and get to probe at your soft, meaty bits, because you are quite the tubbo.
I am.
And this is quite lovely.
And I'm very sentimental, and, yes, you know, this has been a very sentimental trip thus far.
You have... well, being a cancer crab, you know, a nice soft undershell that you know you get to tickle.
Yeah, I think we're at the halfway mark in cancer season too, because I think my birthday's the halfway mark, and then that's up until the 21st before it switches over to Leo. So I'm kind of square in the middle of everything.
There you are. So we're in the height of cancer season. Tim is at the height of his emotions. So when you hear this episode, you be sure to reach out to him and give him a little bit of love. If you haven't done so yet, reach out to him on social media and wish him a happy birthday. But I guess that's it for another week here on Thicc Radio. Please remember to like and subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a good review. If you liked this very special episode, the podcast, or just us in general, share it with your friends and encourage them to tune in. You can find me on Instagram at BeefyFrat and Stuffin' Show at stannnum.
And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, and BeefyFrat at ThiccMouse. You can also look us up on Instagram and TikTok at Thicc Radio, or at our website at www.podpage.com/Thicc Radio. If you want to submit a voice note, you can find the link in the show notes. And if you have any questions or ideas for episodes, you can reach us at thethickradio@gmail.com. So until next time, bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Let's talk about it.
Thicc Radio is a Patreon and Enter app podcast produced by Stannnum and Thicky Mouse.
Mixed and mastered by stannnum.
Our artwork is provided by Lokitu.
Our theme song is provided by Spotify.